Welcome to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast with me, Dave Roberts. Today I'm talking about the announcement of a new large language model from China called Kimi K3. According to its creator, Moonshot AI, it can compete with the very best models from OpenAI and Anthropic. Whether those claims ultimately stand the test of time remains to be seen, but one thing is already clear: the global AI race is entering another fascinating chapter. Over the past few years, we've become used to hearing about OpenAI, Anthropic, Google and Meta leading the conversation around frontier AI. Every few weeks, another model appears that pushes the boundaries of reasoning, coding, mathematics or scientific understanding. Many of us assumed that these companies would continue dominating the market for years to come. However, China has been investing heavily in artificial intelligence, and companies such as DeepSeek, Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and now Moonshot AI are demonstrating that innovation is no longer concentrated in Silicon Valley alone. Moonshot was only founded in 2023 and has grown remarkably quickly. The company has attracted significant investment from some of China's biggest technology firms and has focused on building advanced language models designed to compete globally. Their chatbot Kimi has already become popular within China because of its ability to process extremely long documents and perform sophisticated reasoning tasks. With the launch of Kimi K3, Moonshot is signaling that it no longer wants to compete only within China. It wants to compete with the world's very best AI laboratories. One of the most interesting aspects of Kimi K3 is its scale. The model reportedly contains around 2.8 trillion parameters, making it one of the largest openly available AI models ever released. Now, it's worth explaining what that actually means, because parameter counts can often sound impressive without telling the whole story. Think of parameters as the knowledge and relationships that a model has learned during training. The more parameters a model has, the greater its potential capacity for understanding complex relationships. However, simply making a model larger doesn't automatically make it better. Training methods, data quality, architecture, and optimization all play equally important roles. We've already seen smaller models outperform much larger competitors because they were trained more effectively. Kimi K3 uses what is known as a mixture of experts architecture. Instead of activating every parameter every time you ask a question, only a relatively small number of specialist components are activated for each task. Imagine walking into a large engineering consultancy. You don't ask every engineer to solve every problem. Instead, you find the structural engineer for one challenge, the environmental specialist for another, the transportation expert for something completely different. AI models are beginning to work in much the same way. That makes them significantly more efficient while maintaining very high performance. Another headline feature is the 1 million token context window. Once again, let's look at what that means, because it's genuinely important for businesses. Traditional AI models could only consider relatively small amounts of information at one time. If you were analyzing a lengthy report, a legal contract, or an engineering specification, you often had to split the information into multiple sections. A 1 million token context window changes that dramatically. It allows an AI model to consider hundreds or even thousands of pages of information within a single conversation. For industries like engineering, healthcare, law, finance, and government, that's a transformational capability, because the AI can maintain context across extremely large bodies of knowledge without continually forgetting earlier information. As someone working in digital, I find this particularly exciting because many organizations aren't struggling with a lack of data. They're struggling to connect information that already exists across thousands of documents, systems, and repositories. Models capable of understanding huge quantities of information in one session could fundamentally change knowledge management. Perhaps one of the biggest talking points surrounding Kimi K3 is Moonshot AI's claim that it performs at or close to the level of leading models from OpenAI and Anthropic across reasoning, mathematics, and software development benchmarks. Independent researchers will naturally spend the coming months testing these claims thoroughly. Benchmark results are useful, but real-world performance often tells a more complete story. Enterprise deployments involve messy data, ambiguous questions, and complicated workflows that don't always resemble benchmark tests. Nevertheless, even if Kimi K3 proves to be only slightly behind today's leading frontier models, that's still an extraordinary achievement considering how rapidly China's AI ecosystem has developed. The pace of progress has surprised many analysts. Another important decision made by Moonshot AI is releasing Kimi K3 as an open weight model. This may sound technical, but it has significant implications. Open weight means developers can download the model, run it on their own infrastructure, and customize it for their own applications. This differs from closed models, where organizations interact through cloud-based APIs controlled entirely by the model provider. For many enterprises, governments, and highly regulated industries, this flexibility is increasingly attractive. Organizations dealing with confidential intellectual property or sensitive customer information often prefer running AI within their own secure environments. Open weight models make this much easier. This approach also accelerates innovation. Thousands of developers around the world can build new products, optimize performance for different hardware, and create specialist versions for particular industries. We've already seen how open source software transformed computing over the past 30 years. AI could follow a remarkably similar path. Cost is another area where Moonshot AI is attracting attention. Reports suggest that Kimi K3's pricing is substantially lower than many competing frontier models. Lower costs don't simply make AI cheaper, they enable entirely new use cases. Imagine an engineering firm wanting to analyze hundreds of thousands of technical drawings, or a healthcare organization reviewing decades of patient research, or an insurance company processing enormous volumes of documentation. If inference cost falls dramatically, projects that previously made little financial sense suddenly become commercially viable. We've seen this pattern repeatedly throughout technology history. Lower costs almost always drive wider adoption. Cloud computing became mainstream because infrastructure cost reduced. Data storage exploded because the cost became inexpensive. AI is likely to follow the same economic pattern. What's particularly fascinating is the broader geopolitical context. Artificial intelligence has become one of the defining technologies of this decade. Leadership in AI increasingly influences economic competitiveness, scientific research, military capability, and national productivity. Governments around the world recognize this, which explains the enormous investments we're seeing across both public and private sectors. For several years, the United States appeared comfortably ahead. Companies including OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and Meta consistently produce the world's most capable foundation models. Today, that leadership still exists, but the gap appears to be narrowing. China has made AI a national strategic priority, investing heavily in talent, infrastructure, and semiconductor development despite ongoing export restrictions. Companies have responded with extraordinary speed. DeepSeek surprised the industry earlier this year by demonstrating that world-class reasoning models could be developed more efficiently than expected. Now Moonshot AI is delivering another reminder that innovation is accelerating globally. This competition ultimately benefits everyone. Healthy competition encourages faster innovation, lower prices, and greater customer choice. Businesses gain access to more capable technologies while avoiding dependence on a single provider. Researchers benefit from multiple organizations pursuing different architectural approaches, and customers receive better products at increasingly affordable prices. Of course, competition also raises important questions. How do we ensure AI systems remain trustworthy? How do organizations protect sensitive information? How do governments regulate increasingly capable models without slowing innovation? And how do businesses evaluate dozens of competing AI platforms that appear every few months? These are leadership questions rather than purely technical ones. Technology leaders today need to think beyond selecting the most powerful model. They must consider governance, cybersecurity, ethics, compliance, sustainability, and long-term operating costs. The strongest AI strategy isn't necessarily choosing whichever model tops a benchmark table this month. It's selecting the platform that best aligns with business objectives, security requirements, and organizational capability. This is why I often encourage technology leaders to focus less on the model itself and more on the outcomes they're trying to achieve. AI is becoming increasingly commoditized. What differentiates organizations isn't access to a particular model, it's how effectively they integrate AI into business processes, employee workflows, and customer experiences. Now looking ahead, I suspect we'll remember 2026 as another pivotal year in artificial intelligence. We're moving beyond the world where only a handful of companies can produce frontier AI. Instead, we're entering an era where multiple organizations across different countries are competing at an incredibly high level. that competition will accelerate innovation even further. We should also expect rapid improvements in multimodal capabilities, autonomous AI agents, scientific reasoning, and software engineering. Models will become faster, cheaper, and more specialized. Organizations that build strong AI governance and develop AI literacy across their workforce will be better positioned than those waiting for the technology to mature. Kimi K3 might not be the final destination. In fact, it certainly won't be. Within months, another company will almost certainly announce an even more capable model. That's simply the pace of AI today. The real story is that one model isn't slightly better than another. The real story is that frontier AI capability is spreading across the world at an extraordinary rate. Innovation is becoming more distributed, more competitive, and increasingly accessible. For businesses, this means the conversation should no longer be about whether AI will transform industries. The question has already been answered. The more important question is how quickly organizations can adapt, experiment reasonably, and create genuine business value. So my challenge for you this week is, don't become distracted by benchmark scores or marketing headlines. Instead, ask yourself how these advances could genuinely improve your organization. Could you help your employees make better decisions? Could you improve customer experience? Could it reduce repetitive work? Could it unlock an entirely new business model? Because that's where the real opportunity lies. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. You can find more insights, show notes, and resources at www.inspiringtechleaders.com. Head over to the social media channels. You can find Inspiring Tech Leaders on X, Instagram, Inspo, and TikTok. And let me know your thoughts about Kimi K3. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in tech.